John Berti, a.k.a. Mr. Steal Your Girl, is heating up at the right time, and Cristopher Sanchez is looking to finish the year strong. Join us today as we talk about must-add players one last time for this season on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate if you do that for us. And if you do decide to do that for us, take a screenshot and send it to fantasymds@gmail.com, and you will have a chance to join our coveted listener league for next season, which we will be doing a raffle. And like I said, per usual, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. Subscribe to the channel. Also gives you notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, subscribe to our Diamond Club on, oh, Jesus Christ, I was about to say Patio. I'm losing my mind. But no, on the Subtext website, guys. That's where you need to join our Diamond Club. And we offer a lot more than we offer on this 30-minute episode there. You'll get rankings for 2024. We're going to do bust, breakout, sleepers early for all that stuff. We talk about next season and talk about fantasy football as well. But real quick, let me talk to you about one of our sponsors, Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets and lowest price always guaranteed. But all right, Matt, that's enough yapping here. Let's get on with the show already. Who we talking about first? We're trying to help more people get championships here.
John Berti, Mr. Steal Your Girl, Mr. Steal every single positional card on the field here. The dude is second, third, short, outfield. Might as well be first and catcher too. And then we got a complete thing. I mean, he might even want to do a Shohei Ohtani and start pitching the ball because he just goes everywhere. But seriously, John Berti, cover your pockets, watch your bases, watch your girlfriends because he's just stealing everything under the sun. He's been so hot recently, and it's funny. He hasn't actually been Mr. Steal Your Girl. He only has one stolen base over the last 2 weeks, but he's doing everything else. This week so far, 3 runs, 3 bombs, 4 ribs, batting .538. He's just smoking the cover off the ball. Like, John Berti is on a heater and a half. Like, quite honestly, like, we have some really great names, but, like, I think John Berti is, like, my 1. Our next guy is probably my 2. So, like, these are the guys you really need to pay attention to. Like John Berti right now, if you're in a championship week, pause the podcast and just scoop him up if he's available. He's 20% owned, so he's 100% out there. So 100% add John Berti.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Berti there. He gets the Pirates for most of the end of the week here to wrap up the season. Good matchups against those pitchers. And he's been hitting a lot of homers lately. As Matt said, he had a 2-home-run game the other day. I think both of those did come off of Freddie Peralta, who's a good pitcher. And just, imagine this guy starts stealing. He did hit leadoff. He had another home run today, actually. He's played a doubleheader against the Mets today, John Berti. 4 for 6 with a home run, 1 run, 1 RBI. And it's just, this guy's upside is the limit. But, Matt, you did a good job talking about him, so I'm going to just keep it pushing here. Let's talk about somebody else that Matt and I love, and it's Logan O'Hoppe. And Logan O'Hoppe, got a little banged up this year. But you know what? He's come back really, really strong. Numbers on the year aren't super impressive because, I think he was, still trying to adjust as a 23-year-old. He had 47 games, 171 at-bats, 20 runs, 6 doubles, 13 homers, 27 RBIs, and he's only batting .234. But I really think Logan O'Hoppe is a guy that could hit, 260, 270 at the catcher position. That's definitely going to be a plus. It's to be determined how good those Angels are going to look next year if we're looking forward for Logan O'Hoppe. But you know what? He's been pretty good of late over the last 2 weeks. 7 runs, 3 homers, 5 RBIs, .227 batting average, which isn't super impressive. but I think it's been a little bit better over the last week. Yeah, over the last week, 4 runs, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 280 for Logan O'Hoppe. So, he's starting to catch his stride. I always like to say that, not everybody comes up and is an Acuna, a Tatis, a Soto. Sometimes it takes a couple of years to adjust to big league pitching. And I think O'Hoppe is no exception to that rule. I think he's somebody I'm looking forward to next year. And if you need a catcher to help you out the rest of the way, Logan O'Hoppe is only 18% owned. So if you're in a 2-catcher league, definitely take a look, see if O'Hoppe's out there, and get him on your rosters.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if O'Hoppe didn't get hurt, we'd be talking about him like he's the next Buster Posey. He would have been right up there with Rutsch because he was starting off hot until he got hurt. So Logan O'Hoppe, the fact that he's doing what he's doing right now, makes him my number 2. I would say out of all these guys, just based off of the fact that he's producing from the catcher's position. But quite frankly, next year's value, I don't even care what happens to the Angels. I care more about if he's going to get everyday playing time, because even if he doesn't have a team around him, he's still going to produce numbers that are going to be better than about 75% of the catchers out there. And he'll be a top 5 catcher for me, I think, by the time draft season comes, because I really believe in Logan O'Hoppe. So honestly, add him this week.
I have him at 7. So we're actually not too far off.
Exactly.
A lot of upside.
So Logan O'Hoppe 100% needs to be added this week. But let's move on. Let's talk about Nelson Velasquez. My guy is also doing his thing in the counting stat category with 5 runs, 3 bombs, 5 ribs. But the batting average is kind of nuking you right now at 150. But here's the thing, though. So I don't think he's going to hit another bomb this week, but I think the runs and ribbies are going to be there.
I was going to say he'll hit like 5 bombs this week. He's been on fire with the power.
I mean, he has 5 bombs through 2 weeks. Statistically, it's unlikely for him to hit another home run. But I mean, who knows? He's on a heater. But I think the runs and ribbies are going to be there. They're playing great right now. And I think Nelson is worth an add. Not something I'm running out there to get, but like, say, if I got batting average on a lock and I need runs, ribbies, and maybe some power support, and I lost somebody, or I lost Royce Lewis this week and he was my flex, because that's what he would be for most people. Nelson Velasquez can be somebody that can give you that plus counting stats in those. And if you play in doubles and triple leagues, Velasquez can really do some damage there as well. So let's see what happens. 14% owned. I'm, again, not running out to get him, but at the same time, he's definitely worth an add.
Yeah, Velasquez, the thing is the kid's got power, and he's not like a huge guy, 6 foot 190. So, you really don't expect that kind of power from somebody that size. But the kid knows how to put the bat to the ball. In the minor leagues, he's always had good power. In 2022, through 56 games, he had 15 home runs. 2021, 103 games, 20 home runs. In 50 games so far this year, he has 17 home runs. So the kid's got a lot of pop. He's been hitting 4th in that Kansas City lineup, behind Bobby Witt. Could definitely drive in those RBIs. So if you're looking for somebody that's got a little bit of sneaky power and, potential to get you some RBIs, I would look Velasquez's way, but definitely do not count on him for batting average. As Matt said, he's never really been a batting average guy, not what he does. So that's pretty much it for Nelson Velasquez. We'll keep on pushing here. But before we do that, we're going to talk about, after we, take a little break here, we're going to talk about a guy that Matt and I absolutely love from Cincinnati. We got a Colorado Rocky for you, and then we're going to get into a bunch of streaming pitchers for this weekend, so you're absolutely not going to want to miss that. So, guys, let's talk about the Gametime app. Have you ever tried to buy tickets to see your favorite artist or sports team and wound up being stressed out by how much of a hassle it can be? Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. That's why you need to check out the Gametime app. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Using the Gametime app is super rewarding with flash deals and last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, images and views from the seats you'll be sitting in, lowest price guarantee, and event cancellation protection. I mean, there's a reason it's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets and the lowest prices always guaranteed. And dear everydayers and new listeners, we have an incredible opportunity for you to support the show and enjoy some fantastic perks along the way. Introducing our Diamond Club on the Subtext website. By becoming a member, you not only contribute to the show's success, but also gain access to exclusive benefits. Get your hands on this off season. You're going to get updated rankings for 2024. You're going to get bust, breakouts, sleepers, and all that stuff way earlier than you can get anywhere else. And best of all, you get direct access to Matt and I for all of your burning fantasy baseball questions. Plus, you can try it out completely free for 14 days. Your support means the world to Matt and I, and we can't wait to connect with you on this exciting journey. Join our Diamond Club on the Subtext website today, and let's take your fantasy baseball experience to new heights. And guys, once again, if you leave us a 5-star rating review on Apple, Spotify, those are the main two, or anywhere else if you may listen, we truly appreciate it. And guess what? If you take a screenshot of that and you email it to the fantasymds@gmail.com, we're going to pick one person that does that, and you're going to get a spot in our listener league for next year. We already have one of our fans up in there, guaranteed with a spot for next year. So if you want a chance as well to come play fantasy baseball with Matt and I and learn all the tricks of the trade that we have, I won a couple of championships this year. Matt got one too. So you're going to want to join our Diamond Club on Subtext. But Matt, that is a lot of talking for me, my brother. Why don't you hop on in here?
Yeah. And I just want to say too, even if you're not selected, just leaving a 5-star review and a review on Apple specifically really goes a long way. It really, really boosts the podcast. It helps us grow. It helps us keep doing this. Allows my wife to say, hey, Matt, you can go take an hour and a half away from our family and, go do this and, let me have a little good time. So like straight up guys, like this really helps even more than the subtext in a lot of ways. So please, if you can, please do this. And it would be fun to play with you guys. But let's move on.
Real quick. I do want to chime back that if we helped you at all, any of our advice helped you get, further than you normally do or help to get you a Locked On championship, we that's the only thing we ask you. Just leave a 5-star rating on Apple. That would be fantastic. But Matt, take it away, brother.
All right. Let's talk about Mr. Christian Encarnacion-Strand. Man, saying his name is like a mouthful and a half. But I love him.
Go with CES. That's what a lot of people say. They call him CES.
We can. But I feel like I just got to say the whole thing.
Yeah, no, it's a nice long name. Kind of rolls off the tongue.
Like, I feel like his father said, well, my son's got to have the strongest name humanly possible. So, it's going to be Christian Encarnacion-Strand. And I'm sure if he could, he'd have like 17 other names in between all of that. But we'll see. Anyway, let's move on. First base eligible, 41% owned. Let me throw that out there. 41% owned, which means he's out there. 6 runs, 4 bombs, 8 ribs, batting .350 over the last week. That's really all you need to know. Even though we've been telling you for, I don't know, Dom, since
Before
July.
He got called up?
Yeah, since July to pick him up. Now, I understand maybe you listened to us. He didn't have the hottest start, but we never promised that. We said that, hey, if he gets this going, he's going to be special. So if you did pick him up and you held on to him, this is the result. Now, he's available. There's still time. Get him, because if he's on a heater, what this kid can do in a single year is kind of actually astronomical. It's going to be so good next year. I'm still struggling with where I'm going to rank him. Christian Encarnacion-Strand, CES, needs to be added every which way you go. Please add him and do yourself a service.
Yeah, man. I think you talked about the last week stats, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the last 2 weeks, though. He's been the number 7 overall player in fantasy baseball for the last 2 weeks with a stat line of 9 runs, 6 homers, 12 RBIs, a steal, batting .364 for Mr. Encarnacion-Strand.
Oh, another home run today, by my dad.
And so let's make that 7 over the past, 2 weeks for Encarnacion-Strand. I'm probably going to have him around, let's say, 14 at first base. First base is looking kind of actually deep for next year because we got a couple of newcomers at the position and a lot of guys that have stepped up. But I think Strand is going to be a value pick. I don't think he's going to go that high. If you want to wait at first base, you're going to be able to get Strand. And there's absolutely no reason he should be sitting on your waiver wire for, the rest of the year. He gets the Cardinals up next, and their pitching staff is not really that deep a pitching staff he can take advantage of. And if you want to really know Strand's upside, listen to what he did in 67 games in the minors this year. So 278 at-bats, 65 runs, 21 doubles, 2 triples, 20 homers, 62 RBIs, chipped in 2 steals, 33 walks to 69 strikeouts, which is very nice, and a 331 batting average. Strand is absolutely monstrous. I think he's going to have a strong push here to finish the season. Let's move on to this next guy. Our last bat. Let's talk about Brendan Rodgers. Honestly, if there's any, Rockies out there on your waiver wire, they're not a bad ad. I think they play the rest of their games.
They're home.
Yeah, for the rest of the season, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so with Rodgers, he's honestly one that's out there in a lot of leagues. He is only 9% owned, and I think we talked about him the other day. Matt snuck him in there, and it was a great mention because he's just been good since he's come back from the IL. Second base eligible through the last 14 days for Rodgers. 5 runs, 2 homers, 7 RBIs with a 383 batting average, and he's been hitting cleanup in that lineup for the Rockies. Not really much else to say here about Rodgers, except he's a guy that I've loved over the years and never really had the big breakout that I thought he was going to, but he's still only 27. Definitely a guy I want to keep my eyes on for next year. Hopefully he can stay healthy. He's been injury-riddled for most of his career, if not all of it at this point. So with Brendan Rodgers, if you need a second baseman, a guy that's going to potentially, have a little pop, a couple RBIs the rest of the way, pick him up.
Yeah, for sure. Brendan Rodgers, solid pickup, especially the second base eligibility, which is nice. So, it's just one of those things. But I think we're done. I think you did a great job there. Not done with the podcast, we're done with bats here. We're going to talk about Mr. Edward Cabrera. What's funny is he's somebody they've been flexing in and out whether they're going to start or not. Him on the week just based off of the fact of whether they want to keep him in the bullpen or not, because he's been actually more effective coming out of the bullpen than in his starts, even though his last 2 starts have been pretty nice. But he's actually been even better coming out of the bullpen, in all honesty, because he doesn't have to see the lineup about 2 times, because that's where he gets himself into trouble. But the matchup is against Pittsburgh. They're trying to, make that push. And quite honestly, this is pretty much a layup of a matchup for them. So I think Edward Cabrera can go out there and be very effective. We all know what he could do if he's really on his game. That could be 10 Ks in like 5 innings if he really wanted to. The ERA could be really good. I mean, it's not like they're really blowing your socks off. Hayes is doing pretty good, but there's nobody really else that's really like blowing the cover off the ball. So I feel like Cabrera could step in, take advantage of this, I like to say fluffy matchup, and, prove himself to be a very valuable fantasy asset going into the weekend.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Eddie Cabrera there. 43% owned on Yahoo. I will throw this out there. Since he's come off the IL with the shoulder issue, he's been good. But the last 2 starts are, what I'm impressed by. As Matt talked about, they kind of were running him out there, out of the bullpen, I think, for the first couple. And then, they're easing back him into that starter workload. Next, Matt and I have been talking about this a lot off the podcast. The Marlins rotation next year, they got about 7 names for 5 spots. So Eddie Cabrera, I think they kind of want to see what he has. I wouldn't be surprised if they ran him out there and just kind of like see how long he could go. His last 2 starts, only 1 earned run in each of those. And not big strikeout numbers, but as Matt said, he can rack up the strikeouts very quickly on the season. 96 innings, 115 strikeouts. The walks had been the thing that's been a big problem for Eddie Cabrera, but his last 4 starts, he's kind of been limiting those walks and hits with solid whips in most of those. So we'll see where the thing goes. As Matt mentioned, very fluffy matchup against Pittsburgh. So we like that one for Eddie Cabrera. Definitely a good start. But before we keep things pushing here and we talk about Phillies starting pitcher, a Dodgers young starting pitcher, a closer, and then a sneaky one, Matt has an ad partner to talk about.
Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, brought to you by YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is super easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spread to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with the offer you don't want to miss. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. All right, and we're back. Dom, take it away, sir.
Yeah, so let's talk about Cristopher Sanchez. I'm going to be honest with you, came out of nowhere for me anyway. Not a guy that I had, a lot of knowledge of coming into the year, but he's been very, very good. He's thrown 98 innings, 3.48 ERA across 18 starts this year, 95 strikeouts with a 105 whip. Just been very impressive. He has a nice matchup against the Mets on September 30th. He faced the Mets on September 24th, went 7 innings, got the win, 10 strikeouts. Did give up a couple of runs, but had a 0.57 whip, which is, very, very strong for him. I truly, truly think must add to, see where this goes. I think Phillies are just going to let him rock out because, I think that's their last game. I don't know if they play on the last day of the season. It doesn't look like it, and at least not what I see here. So he might get that start, and then they roll back into the top of the rotation with Wheeler and Nola and them. So Cristopher Sanchez, kind of a must-add here, 35% owned.
Yeah, I like it. He's another one that is going to just be a nice little start this week. But he did a great job.
I'm sorry, I just want to correct myself. They do play on the last day of the season against the Mets.
So very nice and not a bad matchup, honestly. But let's move on. To be completely honest, I was also working on my first base rankings as you were talking. So
fair enough. It's that time of year, guys.
yeah,
I
got the bug. I finally decided to put together the list of names, and now, it's there. But yeah, let's talk about Ryan Pepiot. Ryan Pepiot is going out, and looks like he's slotted in to go against San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken.
I think on the last day of the season, there's a chance that he gets that start on the last day. It's not. I don't think it's 100% yet. But you know what? Pepiot's been so good that I wanted his name in this episode in case he does get that start on the last day of the season against the Giants, which is a juicy matchup.
I wouldn't be surprised, too, only because I don't think he'd slot in a 3-game series or even a 5.
Yeah, exactly.
So this would be the perfect time to get him out there, keep him warm at least, and it'll probably be his last action until, the NL championship game. So Ryan Pepiot is somebody they probably will roll out. And not only are they just the Dodgers themselves, but they're playing at San Francisco, and that's kind of a fluffy matchup going into the end of the season. So I think Pepiot could be a very valuable start this week. He's been very good over the last 2 weeks too. 18 innings, 18 Ks, a 3 ERA with a 1 whip. Solid numbers. He did that at Colorado with 9 Ks in 1 start and a 1.5 ERA and a 1 whip. And then against Detroit, 4 Ks in 6 innings and a 1.5 ERA and 1 whip. He has just done a really good job out of his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's only had 1 game over 3, and he's only had 1 other game over 2 ERA. Pepiot has been really solid. He's somebody that I'm going to be ranking in a very interesting and curious place, I think, when it comes down to me sitting down and doing my rankings. Pepiot could be very valuable, not just this week, but for next year. So write his name down and don't forget it.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Pepiot there. On the year, Pepiot has started 3 games. He's thrown in 7 games overall, though. They've kind of been mixing him in a little bit later. I think they've been doing like an opener situation, and then Pepiot would, pitch after that. But he's had in his last 4 games a 7-inning start and 3 6-inning starts. So that really shows you that he's able to give that longevity. So let me finish reading off those numbers. A 1.85 ERA on the year for Pepiot, 39 innings, 35 strikeouts with a 0.74 whip. He's always been a strikeout guy. So even that strikeout upside is there going into next year. Maybe even this last start of the season, he'll show us something because his last start, he did have 9 strikeouts, as Matt mentioned. In 91 innings in 2022 in the minors, he had 114 strikeouts. And in 2021, he had 101 innings in the minors, 127 strikeouts. Once again, we're talking about Ryan Pepiot here. And he's a guy, like Matt said, I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to have him at starting pitching, but it wouldn't shock me if he lined in there somewhere near Gavin Williams and Tanner Bybee that I have at 39 and 40. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was around them. So, you're talking about a guy that could be a top 35 to 40 pitcher going into next year. Love Ryan Pepiot's upside, and he is 54% owned. Let's move on to somebody. I think we talked about him last week, but I want to talk about him again. It's Jose Leclerc. He's been closing for the most of the time there in Texas. I know Chapman has been mixed in a little bit, but Leclerc's been very, very good of late, and Chapman has not. So over the last 14 days, Leclerc has thrown 5.1 innings, 2 saves, 8 strikeouts, giving up no earned runs with an 0.94 whip. Leclerc has closer experience with the Texas Rangers in the past, and on the year, his numbers look great too. He has 4 saves on the year, 2.85 ERA, 1.19 whip, 53 innings pitched, 62 strikeouts. So with Leclerc, I think the thing is, add him, see where this thing goes, because I think he's going to finish out the year as the main closer there with the last couple of games here. And if he lost to Tanner Scott, who had been very, very good, I know he's on paternity leave for at least the next 3 days. I would drop Scott, pick up Leclerc, and who do they play these next couple of games? Against Seattle, so those are meaningful games. They're definitely going to want to make sure they lock those down, and I think Leclerc is going to be the guy to get that call if they do.
Yeah, no, I like Leclerc a lot. So definitely valuable positions in high leverage situations where he's going to be. So Leclerc is your dude, but let's move on. Let's talk about Mr. Rhys Olson. Rhys Olson, the Detroit Tigers, 41% owned. Probably going to get Cleveland this weekend on Sunday since he pitched on Tuesday. If I had to take a guess, it's either going to be Saturday or Sunday. And it's going to be Cleveland, and it's probably going to be at home. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, Saturday would be the last game for them because they play on the 30th. So anyway, he's been pretty solid. Kansas City, he went 5 innings deep, 7 Ks, 1.59 ERA. Went against the Dodgers, only had a 1.5 ERA with a 5 Ks, got the win, 6 innings and a 0.67 whip. And went against Cincinnati at home as well. Got the win, 7 Ks and a 1.5 ERA. He's been very solid over the last month in general with 35 innings pitched, 3 wins, 35 Ks, a 1.51 ERA with a 0.87 whip. Rhys Olson is somebody you can probably trust with this start coming up. Cleveland has not really been wonderful. Honestly, I really like the fact that Rhys Olson has just been performing and has just proven himself to be somebody that I'm going to be probably considering as a nice little end of the draft next year. Because I think Rhys Olson is going to not just finish right here and be a end of the year wonder.
Yeah, man, great take on Rhys Olson. I absolutely love the kid. I really think he has a lot of upside. He has a good slider. His fastball averages at 95. I know he gets up there way higher. Well, not way higher, but I know he gets up there higher than that. So he's got good stuff, and the sinker is actually a good pitch for him too. So I really think that's a juicy matchup at Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't really have a lot besides, Jose Ramirez. I really think he could pitch around it. And his last 5 starts in particular that Matt was talking about have been very strong, especially that last one against the Royals with 7 strikeouts, only gave up 1 earned. And honestly, all through his last 5 starts, he hasn't given up more than 2 runs. He's gone at least 5.2 innings in all of them with a 7-inning start, a 6.2 inning start, a couple of more 6-inning starts in there. Kid's got really great stuff, and I think you need to pick him up for that, weekend matchup against the Guardians. He is 41% owned on Yahoo, and just to add him. But Matt, I think you got one more guy for us right before we take this thing home.
Yes, sir. So we have time for one more dude, and honestly, you know how we were talking about how much I like Logan O'Hoppe? I got another catcher for you, and that's Henry Davis. Henry Davis, honestly, solid matchup. Yeah, he's going against Miami, who's going to be a little bit more of a higher tier pitching, but outside of Cabrera, I think he's going to be solid. He still has Philly, and Philly likes to get blown up, and they're not starting any of their real, big hitters here. So Henry Davis is probably primed for a nice matchup, depending on how the weekend falls. And he's been solid over the last week. 3 runs, 2 bombs, 4 ribs, batting .375. This kind of production out of your catcher position is hard to come by. So I think Henry Davis is a solid add, especially if you missed out on Logan O'Hoppe or your current pitcher isn't doing his job. Henry Davis kind of has a nice matchup going into the weekend, so I would add him.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Henry Davis, former number 1 overall pick. The kid is very, very talented. His numbers this year do not reflect it at all. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but not everybody comes up and does the Acuna Tatis thing. So I think this kid, needs a little bit of an adjustment period. He is still only 23 years old. So, he has time for himself to grow there a bit. But, he steals bases. He's got pop. The runs and RBIs have been solid over his 210 at-bats. The batting average is the thing that he needs to work on the most. I don't know if he's going to retain that catcher eligibility for next year. So far, he's only made 2 appearances at catcher. I don't know if Yahoo and other platforms are going to be lenient about that because his natural position is catcher, but he's mainly been playing outfield. So if he does lose that catcher eligibility, I really don't love him so much for outfield next year. A lot of his appeal was that he was a catcher. Still might take him a couple of years to grow into his own, but, we shall see where things go. But, Matt, unless you got anything else to add, I think I'm going to bring this thing home.
Oh, let's do it, baby.
Yep, guys, so that's all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Also, shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And make sure you are on the lookout for a new episode tomorrow where Matt and I really bring things home to end the season with our Fantasy Baseball Award Show. So that's one you definitely don't want to miss. But, guys, until tomorrow.
Peace.
See you.